Okay, so I thought I'd say some things of follow-up on the Spinoza video on atheism and or impersonal God, and especially wanted to say something to direct spirit. I really appreciate the video and this distinction between the fact and the interpretation of the fact. I think we all, when we look around, we see a world that is miraculous. It is mind-bogglingly complex, however you want to do it. Whether you want to just accept the mystical sort of religious view and say, there's something about the world that seems like a miracle, or you just really want to come at it from a robustly well-informed scientific view, you're still is left baffled by the unbelievable range and complexity of it all. Now, I think I wanted to say something in regard to the question that Direct Spirit had asked about why some people seem to have had these revelatory or profound direct experiences of a personal God. Okay, first off, I think the Daniel Dennett video that Cambridge loaded up yesterday is worth checking out. Dennett's argument goes something along the lines of this, that beliefs in Creator had reasons that were evolutionarily grounded. And so because earliest humans for many, many centuries, millennia, they would see a potter make a pot or a painter make a painting, but they'd never ever witnessed a painting make a painter or a pot make a potter. That itself had grounded in a kind of belief system that's a meme, that's transpersonal, and had survival value, and it, I guess, somewhat compels people to imagine that there must be a maker that explicitly was aware of making what we take to be made. I think the comparison would be that when Spinoza talks about an impersonal God, and I would say right here, right now, I'm not a Spinoza expert. I would call my own position and attempt to relate some of Spinoza's ideas to the Stoics, particularly Epictetus, and then in the context of the work of Ernest Becker and Kenneth Burke. Ernest Becker and Kenneth Burke, I feel much more confident of. I don't want to say I'm a world authority, but I'm definitely ready to go head-to-head with people on those folks. Those are people who I'm much more well-versed in, and I do think that many people would say that Burke was a great Spinozist. He radicalized Spinoza by making it a sort of dramatism. So I think that the point here is that the position that one would want, I think, is to say that when Spinoza talks about an impersonal God, he was trying to radically criticize the over-personalization that was going on, and he was trying to distance himself from the miracles in the sense of divine intervention and superstitious things, fantastical things, not just awe-inspiring mystery of the utter complexity and the majesty of the world and its robustness and its diversity, but, people believing that a spell and a hex was going to lead something to a god to curse someone, or, eternal damnations and souls, and all of this kind of ghosts sort of stuff. I think he was trying to distance himself from that. But in the same way that Dennett is suggesting a belief system that, I guess, has survival value and is the very reason that we think that there must be a creator, I think one could give a parallel argument and suggest something like, it's not just an impersonal God that Spinoza was after. I think instead what you try to do is you do this sort of radical spin-off and suggest he was pulverizing the distinction between personal and impersonal. The way that I would try to contextualize it, at least in the book that I have coming out, is it's to realize that the cosmos itself has the problem of self-awareness. Self-awareness, self-consciousness, that's the issue. See, I could say that I'm self-aware, and I am self-aware, but the cosmos is self-aware. It just happens to be me that is the locus or the manifestation site of it. It's not as if I've produced the very conditions that made me possible. It just doesn't work that way. I think there is much good insight in Dennett's notion of what I would call, in phenomenological work, it's known as the pre-reflective. In Michael Polanyi's work, it's known as the tacit dimension. This notion that most of what we do without knowing how we're able to do it, and we're able to create without knowing how to create. I think that is an important insight. In a very similar way, the cosmos itself is divine. The fact that individuals have what's called, quotes, a divine experience, and then interpret those facts, they interpret that as there must be a personal God who plays favorites and relates to me and is concerned with me. That is a kind of perversion. It's a momentary fetishization of what is the ubiquitous experience for all of us. Every thought is a thought in the mind of God. It's you are God. You are the divine manifestation in a cosmic unfolding, and death is a hoax. Death is a hoax. You think everything that you think of, everything that you know, it's only just you in your head knowing that. You've never known death. It's like, I'm dying, I'm dying. You never get to I'm dead. You'll never get to I'm dead. There's only life eternal. Life eternal is the fact. All organisms live in life eternal. Humans, because they can think, can have momentary estrangements where they think about their own death and they have all these fantasies, but the one thing they'll never experience is their own death. If anything, you continuously experience the non-life eternal by imagining that somehow there is something other than life eternal. Death is a hoax played upon the living who can think about their own non-existence. I think everything is part of the cosmic unfolding. We all are. But the task is to recognize that there is an order and a harmony. See, I think it's what the Stoics would call the demand for self-consistency that we see throughout nature. Geometric forms and the divine ratios that we find throughout nature in proportionality and symmetry, these are their resonance, right? They're a kind of resonance, and they're a resonance of self-consistency. And so the moral order comes from the individual who sees themselves, recognizes themselves as part of a harmonious order that has to be able to manage opposites and see opposites as part of what is, rather than this either or. People need to do, it's both and either or. There is an either or, but the either or is always embedded within a both and. It's not either or both and. It's both and either or. I think if people can start to move in what Richard Lanigan calls binary analog logic, they could start to realize that some of these paradoxes of being nature but not being nature, that's part of the truth about being the divine and not being the divine. I mean, you're not nature, but you're not nature. You are a place and moment of everything that has ever existed and ever will. Now that you are, you couldn't have not been, and every thought you think is the self-aware cosmos in some way struggling to relate to itself, to make sense of the ambiguity all around it. The fact that some people would interpret those experiences, those facts, as personal revelation, it would be, again, a fetishization of it, a distortion of it, but that's not to diminish the fact that the mystery, the miraculous mystery, is all around us. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Thanks.